The following program is rated TVMA. What you're about to watch contains explicit language, adult themes, violence, and may not be suitable for viewers under 18. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow, and for those people who have not been around on Twitter the past couple of days, first of all, thank the Lord, and second of all, you have missed what probably has become one of the biggest sweeps of developers and streamers and content creators who have been caught in a sort of a MeToo movement in content creation as far as video games is concerned. There are a lot of people that got caught in this web, and some of the people, frankly, deserved it, including one person, Omid, who was and is sort of affiliated with the online performers group. I say affiliated because he was the CEO, then he was not, and then he resigned, though his wife's still a CEO of the company, which means he's still getting some of the profit from it, or all the profit. How does this work? How is this something that is kosher? How is this something that doesn't raise red flags all over the place? I mean, you should have probably have known how suspicious this was, but there was a lot to that story. I'm not going to go into it because monetization. However, there are a slew of other people, including Crytonic, who got ousted as a groomer. I'm not going to go more into it than that. Pro Syndicate also got accused, which is probably the accusation that got all of this started. How did he still have a career after the CSGO Lotto thing? I'll never know. OPG saw a exodus of a lot of people that decided to exit stage left from the company, including Dodger and Strippin, who I believe is still in the Yogscast. I'm not completely sure of that, but this led to a long list of people who were content creators, mainly Twitch streamers, who have been accused, and I want to stress accused, not convicted, of, let's just say, misconduct of a certain kind, and either they have came out and said, hey, this was bad behavior on my part, I do apologize for it, to flat out denial, and we'll get to the latter here in just a moment. And it's pretty varying about what the responses are to the responses. There are some people who have denied it of one or two cases, and then some people came out and said, oh wait, there's a couple of other cases that you're not accounting for here, and other people who have gotten actually fired from their jobs. Now, keep in mind that these accusations are also of varying degrees. Maybe somebody had touched somebody inappropriately or had said something inappropriate, and they're getting the same kind of responses regardless of the scope of the crime. You shouldn't be calling somebody SLUT, but at the same time, I think that is tame compared to some of the other cases that are out there, though it's getting the same kind of responses from the cancel culture crowd that we've been seeing lately. And I don't think that's fair to do to some people who have tried to apologize for something they said a couple years ago, or maybe 5 years ago. We're never perfect, me being one of them. I'm not perfect either, but at the same time, one of the main things is to not be a dick. And I try my best to not be a dick. And if I screw up, I screw up, and I try my best to be better. You guys all know this by now. However, there are a few people who have not only denied this, but have dropped the bomb on the receipts about what is actually occurring. One of them is Angry Joe, who has said that he has been talking to his lawyer about one particular person whose story is kind of weird and sort of has a lot of contradictions and a lot of holes in it. And he has been talking a lot about that, and I'm going to just let him be the one that says this, because that's not in my best interest to talk about that, because that's not what this video is about. Pro Syndicate had also denied these allegations as well, and I'm not completely sure about the validity of one versus the other there, so that's all I'm going to comment about that. Pro Syndicate has far from the cleanest hands in the world. Remember I said about the CSGO Lotto thing, but everybody should be fair to everybody else, and I'm going to get in a second about why we should give people the chance to respond. The other one is from TVG Badger. He's got accused by two people, and he has dropped the receipts, albeit a little bit messily, in Google Drive. not really organized in a sort of way, but he's definitely shown what I'm calling a foundation of truth, where the more you see it, the more you see some of these things that he's putting out there, the more you will understand, okay, wait a minute, maybe he's in the clear here about these two cases. And keep in mind, the two accusers are only saying, hey, you're doxing us because you're posting evidence. Not really disputing the evidence itself, just disputing the fact that he's posting it. Should raise a lot of red flags out there. So the whole idea is to wait until they respond, wait until you see whether or not they're going to try to defend themselves, and give them a chance to defend themselves. Yes, you should listen to the accuser's accusations and take them seriously, but at the same time, don't take the accusations as a conviction of guilt. That's why we call them accusations. It's not to discredit anybody, it's to make sure we understand that in a court of law or in the court of public opinion, which is much harsher now, we still need to give people what is called due process. That's what that is. That's how it works. One person who does not think about due process and doesn't think that anybody should be allowed to even defend themselves is this person. And this actually made my blood boil to the point where I felt like I had to say something, because I was not going to post a video about this. I was not going to post a video about this whole thing, because God knows what anybody has on anybody else. God knows what anybody can even use. You can say, hey, he killed a bug today, let's cancel him. That's where we are right now. But this fool, this person goes by the name of Jennifer Scheurle. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, and pretty much I don't care. Her Twitter handle is Gaohmee. And if you don't know who this person is, let me explain to you who she is. She had replaced the shamed Jessica Price as the lead designer for ArenaNet on Guild Wars 2. Remember what happened to Jessica Price? Remember what happened to her? Why is it that people seem to want to hire dicks? Why is it that people want to hire people like this who want to treat other people, potential customers, like absolute trash? It's happened on Twitch on the Security Advisory Council. By the way, keep in mind that the people who are now coming out with their stories, albeit them being well advised to do so, did not say anything about the Twitch Security Council, which a toxic person by the name of Ferociously Steph resides, and they're not doing anything about that. And when Jessica Price was getting called out for her treatment of the Warrior, a lot of the people, instead of protecting the consumer, decided to rush to her defense and let her have the gall to say whatever she wanted to say about somebody who was not doing even close to what she was describing was going on. And now we have this fool. And yes, I'm calling her a fool, because what she is saying and what you're seeing on the screen right now is from a thread reader. Now, keep in mind we have to go through thread reader, and we will talk about why here in just a second. She says to all of these people who are now posting receipts, and I would proclaim that if you're a person who is accused and you can show your innocence, please do so. For God's sakes, please do so. Because I'm going to get into that here in just a second, because we need more people to actually condemn stuff like this. Saying, quote, I need to leave. I need to go outside and breathe. I can't see this. Here's the big quote. Men having all the receipts ready to discredit the people they hurt. All your alarm bells should go off. This is my worst nightmare. This is why I will never ever say what happened to me. Fellow survivors, you can DM me, but I'll be outside. I can't read tweets anymore. I've thrown up twice already. And this just goes on and on. Red flag, first of all. Why I'll never ever say what happened to me. Does somebody have receipts about what you could say? Is this something that we have to be worried about, that you are ready, willing, and able to ruin somebody's career out of a false accusation, and you are not wanting to get the word out because you're afraid somebody might actually want to prove their innocence and has the ability to do so? That's called due process, women. That is called due process. If you have the evidence, you should say something. You should be allowed to defend yourselves. That is what that means. Yes, if you have a story, by all means come forward. But if that person has some receipts and they are credible beyond a reasonable doubt, then you have no leg to stand on. This is absolutely abhorrent, and it goes in the face of every single person, every single woman who has came out and had a credible story that had been corroborated by several other people. This does a lot of terrible things, and this sets a horrible, dangerous precedent. obviously one of the reasons is because if no one is allowed to defend themselves, it's going to become the wild, wild west. Anybody can do anything to anybody and set an accusation toward anybody, and the person is not allowed to do anything about it, and it will destroy their careers. An accusation in of itself is enough. People don't want to see evidence. They seem to not want to see evidence. They don't care about the evidence. How much do I want to suspect that Badger is doing everything he can to show evidence, yet people don't care. They're going to leave him anyway without even looking at it. And that is unfair to him. Could we see eye to eye on everything? Absolutely not. But on this whole case, I believe him. I believe that he is showing a foundation of truth, that he is more truthful than the two people who are accusing him, because they have not really disputed anything that he has put out there. Now, if there's some dispute about what he's put out there, then show me, because I haven't seen it yet. But it will turn into the wild, wild west. And you know that's what's going to happen, because we have been seeing it time and time again, and it does seem like no one's getting any kind of control or cares to get any control over it. It seems like the more somebody tries to get control over it, the more people try to push back against the control. And I think I might have had it with this post. I think this might have been what broke me, to see that somebody has the gall, the balls to do anything like this, to say anything like this. How dare she say something like this? How dare she to deny a person of any description, be a man, a woman, or anybody, the ability to defend themselves against something that is so damning to them, that will be so damaging to their careers, to their lives, and their livelihoods, and also to the real victims of these kinds of attacks, of these kinds of crimes. Because the other way this could happen is that because there really is no proof beyond an accusation, this might go the other way. Since there's always going to be a slight chance of reasonable doubt, no one's going to believe the victims. No one's going to believe real victims, because these people are clouding the waters. They're muddying the waters. People like the people who are going after Badger, people like those who are going after Angry Joe, and yes, I don't believe them because they have a whole bunch of holes and they're suddenly only saying, hey, how dare you post the evidence, instead of us disputing what the evidence shows. It's going to make it 10 times harder for anybody who is an actual victim of sexual predatory to be able to tell the stories or to have anything done toward the predator, because we were going to have this clout. And no man is ever perfect, but neither is any woman. There are several men who get put through abuse, both by men and by women. Are you ready to tell people? Are you ready to tell those men that they are not allowed to say their stories either? Are you going to tell those women they're not allowed to defend themselves if they feel as though that they have the proof to show that they are innocent beyond a reasonable doubt? Are you ready to tell them that they are not allowed to dispute any accusation and to just bend over and take it? And I say that for lack of a better phrase. You have got to be kidding me that this is something that she is actually going to say and it's going to stand behind. Now, I told you that I wanted to explain to you why we have to use Thread Reader, which is kind of a mess. Yes, I do admit this was kind of a mess to go through on Thread Reader. Apparently, from what I'm gathering, the archive way to do things got a little messed up when we're trying to archive her tweets. That's why we have to use this, and yes, we archived the Thread Reader. Now, there's a reason why we had to use this in the first damn place. Guess what kind of person she is as well? The one kind of person who will just flat out block you if she even remotely disagrees with you, or you follow somebody who she does not like. And wow, has she been blocking people almost immediately after they tweet a few things. She has blocked me. Keep in mind, I have not talked to this person. I have not known this person's existence. I have not known that this person even had a Twitter account. I have not communicated or interacted with this person. Yet I am blocked. Now, you want to probably know why? Because I probably followed somebody she did not like, or that I spoke up and said, hey, maybe you should use due process, which is a standard thing that any human being, which by the way, men and women still are, would use and would tell you about. And we should use that in the court of public opinion, but unfortunately we do not. But if we go and look up Gaohmee blocked on Twitter, you will see that there are several people who are saying that either they found that she had blocked them and they had no prior communication with her, or that they had posted something to call her out on this BS and she blocked them almost within the very second that they had posted their tweet, or posted their tweet about her, and not even tagged her in it. And what is she blaming about all of this? 4chan. When I'm gathering, she accused Justin Bieber of sexually assaulting her or something along those lines, and he brought receipts himself, which is kind of coincidence to what we're dealing with here right now with TVG Badger and Angry Joe, and maybe Pro Syndicate as well, if that ends up holding up. Maybe this was just a weird coincidence that this fell at the same time, but I highly doubt this is just a coincidence that she's saying this at the exact same time all of these people were starting to get called out on Twitch as well. I know 4chan is a dumpster fire, and I know that they have a lot of problems with them, and I know that I have criticized them time and time again. However, I don't see the same thing she would be seeing. She brags about being able to be rate limited. As you know, Twitter has a sort of safeguard against mass blocking. If you block more than a certain amount, then it will rate limit you, and you have to wait in order to start blocking other people. And yeah, she had posted on her Twitter that yes, she had run into the rate limit. That is far from the protection against this sort of mass blocking and this sort of thing that Twitter needs to be doing right now. And that is a whole nother problem that Twitter really needs to address if they want to be serious about it not being an echo chamber like it currently is. And she's talking a lot about this whole thing with Justin Bieber, and I'm the furthest from a Justin Bieber fan as I can be. I commended Selena Gomez for dumping the fraud, but then again, maybe I could be on his side for this particular person, because it does seem as though this woman needs a good long look in the freaking mirror. And I know I'm getting really uptight, and I don't want to say any more than I really have to here. But here's what I really want to get through. This person is a lead content designer for Guild Wars 2. Mike O'Brien had fired somebody before, and Jessica Price, for doing something similar. Now, granted, that was more directed at a particular person. Jennifer Scheurle decided to say, hey, screw that. I'm just going to go raise a fuss about everyone and just lay waste to a foundation that the United States of America and some other countries in the world, granted not all countries have it, they should have it, have been able to enact in order to prevent people from abusing the justice system. That anybody is allowed to have a fair and honest trial. That's in theory, not everybody gets it, unfortunately. However, that's how it's supposed to work. If she doesn't believe that people do need a chance to defend themselves, either in the court of law or court of public opinion, just ask the person who wrote the Rolling Stone article that they had to retract on April 5th, 2015. About the University of Virginia in ironically, Charlottesville, Virginia. Well, there's that city's name again. How about the current allegations against Joe Biden, the current frontrunner and apparent nominee for the president of the United States on the Democratic side? Is he not allowed to defend himself? I'm pretty sure you want that one guy who's in office gone. Are you willing to sacrifice that in order to justify this position? And have you ever heard of a guy by the name of Brian Banks, who for 10 or so years, he was either in jail or he might as well have been, with the way that all went down, for a false allegation against him. And it was only when a private investigator had found out the truth that he finally had his name cleared of the allegations that the person levied against him. Think about that. 10 years, give or take maybe 1 or 2, to find out that the person made it all up. Every word of it was made up. Was he allowed to have a fair trial? Does he still deserve to be in jail, given your moral standing about what men should do when they get hit by an allegation such as this? How about Aziz Ansari? Or what about this case with the mattress girl that I keep hearing about that I'm not completely sure what that's all about? There are men who are right now afraid to even approach women, not knowing what would happen would they express any desire to even go out on a date with them or to even compliment them. It's gotten that bad. And it's stuff like this that is the reason why. Yes, there are abhorrent people in the world, and if they have done something that is completely out of the norm, like sexual assault or the R word or something like that, then of course they should be called out. But remember that through this mix are things about maybe a bad altercation, or maybe a misunderstanding. And are they going to be held up to that same kind of standard? Or you're going to say, hey, you're not allowed to even defend yourself here? You're setting a dangerous precedent. And this is something that if ArenaNet is listening, and yes, I'm going to be trying to get an email to Mike O'Brien about this, because he was the one that said the magic words about Jessica Price, and this is the person that replaced her, and Mike should be the one, or maybe someone that is on the highest up alongside him that has the responsibility to be able to do something about this and to calm the waters here, because quite frankly, these are potential customers that she is leading astray. Here we go again, and to take immediate action. And to not only that, if it turns out that she's going to be let go, and maybe in the most extreme cases, maybe that's the way we should be handling this, please, for the love of God, please hire somebody who not only knows what they're doing, but is going to treat customers, potential customers, and people with a little bit more respect than the last two people you are hiring. Vet these people. We deserve it as people who buy your product, because you should have vetted her. She has seemingly had a history of saying some pretty questionable things. But I want to also go into one last thing, and that is to the women who are seeing this and are thinking, what is going on? Why is he saying this? It is because we need you to listen to innocent men who have been getting caught in this web, who have been getting victimized by people who are taking advantage of real victims with real stories, with real problems, with real anxiety about them coming out and sharing their stories, and are worried that they are not going to be able to be heard, or they're not going to be believed, because these people, these other women, are taking advantage of it. These other people are taking firm advantage of the movement that's going on in order to destroy careers just because they want to extract revenge against somebody. I have friends and acquaintances who have been assaulted in this way, who have been taken advantage of in this way. They are credible. I believe them. I believe the majority of those people who have been highlighted in this document, who have been highlighted as people who have called out some of these people who have been taken advantage of. I do not believe the people who are accusing Badger or Angry Joe, though. And I sure as hell do not believe somebody like Jennifer Scheurle, who will take advantage of whatever opportunity that they have in order to ruin somebody's life just because they want to get back at somebody, who wants to extract revenge on somebody. That is a slap in the face to any survivor of this kind of attack, of this kind of abuse, of this kind of exploitation. That is a slap in the face to any survivor, to any victim. And I mean that with all sincerity I have. Yes, false accusations may be rare, but they're not rare enough, and it doesn't factor in things that are not yet proven to be false. They're not factoring in things that are not reported for some reason or another, or we never hear about. If you see somebody, if you see anybody who is getting falsely accused, and you see that, hey, wait a minute, things like what Angry Joe got accused of is full of holes, is full of contradictory statements, or that Badger had said something beyond a reasonable doubt that maybe he's innocent, you have to call those women out. We need your help here. And if somebody might have evidence to prove their innocence, for God's sakes, hear them out. For God's sakes, listen to another side of the story that might prove that perhaps they're innocent, because, like I said, you have to be very careful about these accusations. Don't just throw everybody onto a fire at the slightest hint of a problem. For God's sakes, if they say they have evidence, please allow them to present it and take it seriously. And don't just throw them under fire or dismiss it, because for anybody to be taken seriously, for more women to be taken seriously, more people must call out the few who are going to take firm advantage. And maybe it takes somebody to say, you know what, I'm going to let the other person have a chance to respond before I quote-unquote cancel them, or call them out, or ostracize them, or block them, or whatever. And yes, I know I'm going to be hit by whatever phrase or label that you want to put on to me because I'm saying this. But if you want to help those victims out, if you want to help those women out to be heard, then you have to call out the ones that are only going to use that as a spear, who are only going to use that as a tool in order to get after somebody they just didn't like or they just wanted to extract revenge on. Think about the amount of believability those women would have if we got rid of those others who were not that honest about their experience. Keep in mind that men are still human beings. Keep in mind that men are still fallible people who deserve as much respect and dignity to those that have been falsely accused as you were to those women who have been victims of a tragic experience. And their stories and what they had to go through and the courage that they had to come forward with these stories deserve much better than the people who are just using it as a spear and as a weapon and as a nuke in order to go after people they don't like. And they deserve far, far better than somebody like Jennifer Scheurle. And to ArenaNet, you need to do something about her now. I'm JD Shadow. That just happened.